that actually Andhra Pradesh has been experimenting with many innovative technologies and is actually on the cusp of implementing of those, many of those. So how can governments create a regulatory environment for successful and competitive implementation of new technology?
First of all, thank you for your kind introduction, Dr. Christopher Ward, and greetings to my co-panelists. First of all, to start off with, as a policymaker, as they say today, the necessity has become the mother of invention. Today, the world has moved to that necessity, is that way we need, especially in this new challenges that we're getting across. The world wants to move across from to newer technologies and, safer technologies and looking at sustainability. So as a government, as any responsible government, what are the four things that we look at? We look at it 4 pillars. One, we look at policy, followed it up, backed it up by enabling infrastructure for it. And the third point is important is that getting the innovations into the industry. And the fourth point and the most important point which carries is getting skilled manpower. Now, for example, we have already experimented in our policies. We have already said that by 2024, 3 of our major cities, we will be going off the internal combustion engines. So 3 of our major metros by another 4 years' time, we will be exiting the combustion engines and we will be focusing towards the electronic EV mobility over there. We're also talking about a very proactive, see today, we need to keep, as policymakers, we need to keep in adept with and step ahead of the technology innovations that are changing place. So I think we need to create a policy which is very adaptive, which is progressive in the sense that, it can actually catch up with the technology. In fact, not wait for regulatory work, that sometimes stalls the technology expansions. So that is something which we all need to look at very carefully over there. And the second most important point is that in this policy, we also look at targeted demands. How do we get this demand, enhance these demands, and not only that, getting the followed it up by infrastructure. Now, when I talk about infrastructure, I'm just not talking about charging stations alone. It has to be a holistic approach because today EV mobility is just not, logistics. It is not just going to be vehicles. It's not going to be people's movement. It's going to bring in a new paradigm of, the mobility over there. So we need to create that infrastructure from the state side to understand and enable so that people can come in and then actually we can subsidize some of these investments that are coming in also, because that is what going to be. And I think especially for economies like us, for states like, for the industry like India, the one way we can be in forefront of this cutting edge is trying to adapt our technologies with our development. And I can give you a very good example, if you look at our telecom revolution that has taken place, in the early 90s, getting a single landline was a big challenge. When we opened the mobile, the mobile sector, in no time today, we're the world leaders in mobile technologies. So I think the similar is it stands today for us, and especially on the EV mobility side over there. And as you said, we are very proactively, as I just mentioned some time back, we're creating the first drone city. We are getting up an industrial development where we want to manufacture drones, research, get in people like Tom Plummer over there and see that, he can, get involved in this, and probably I'll be more than happy to share what could be the guidelines that we need to set across to get into this kind of technology. Because I can tell you recently we had a conference with our, one of the chief CXOs, and the idea was how do we adapt ourselves to the new technologies? And we had a very good, interesting round of discussions. But as I would say, again, coming back, all of this needs to be backed by a very pipeline of a skilled workforce, which is what we're doing today. We're investing heavily in our skill, upskilling, you can say reskilling, or you can also talk about new skilling. So the whole idea mantra today for us, especially in a bourgeois population for us, skilling that's what our Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister also said, we would create the world's skilled workforce in the coming decades. So I think we are on that path. And I think if you put this holistically, I think the states, especially countries like us, can progress very ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is truly impressive. Now, there's a catchword out there: performance-based regulation. So it's one thing to basically make an EV policy, but it's the next thing to really create an industry and create a deployment on the ground. So how do you connect policy with performance?
There are 2 parts to this, the whole conversation. One is the supply side, and the other one is on the demand side. One, I think I do agree to this, the question, I mean, the prospects of, in order to solve a problem, we don't create another problem. So the idea is that, when we think about it, when we have an entry plan, we also need to understand, as I would agree with Mr. Wolfe, that, the material that we're talking, the basic material, that is lithium itself, is becoming, it's scarce around the world. And I'm just talking about how do we come to the next alternative tech. We should be investing in alternative fuels, or if not lithium, we should be looking at, the hydrogens or whatever the other. So I think as a policy maker, what we look at it is both on the input side, I'm talking about on the demand side and on the supply side. The demand side, how are we going to do it? Now we are saying propagating by getting in new technologies, by saying that, cities should move towards this. We're giving ourselves benchmarks saying that, in about 5 years time, we should be adapting to this kind of technologies. And we should be, the idea is for us, we're not propagating any one technology. We're saying as long as, when we have a policy, as I said, it has to be a holistic policy, right from the entry to the exit. So we understand what is going to be the pitfalls of this policy. How are we going to exit? So as I said, the startups, the beauty of the startups is the knowledge base that they pick up and that we can use about. So it may not be that one startup has to go on. It could be another startup which takes on, it's like a relay race, so the people takes the baton and then keeps moving it forward. So it's as long as we keep encouraging this momentum, that's why we see innovations taking up, maturing themselves. The other point which I would also like to make is that from this government side, what we do is that we'll also try to subsidize the innovations, like, in the capital subsidy, the investments that they put in. And in terms of regulatory work, I think we should walk step in step with the industry. It is not that, the government tries to catch up after the innovations are happening. We need to be, parallelly with the industry, trying to understand what could be today's requirements and today's demands and tomorrow's requirements. So we need to, sort of like walk hand in hand and try to understand how exactly this is going to evolve itself. And one, for that matter, I think one of the greatest attractants for our Indian, in our Indian subcontinent is the fact that we have a huge demand. And I've noticed, especially the younger Indians, their adaptability to accessing the new technologies is very, very advanced. If you look at today, the data usages that we do on our mobile is one of the highest in the world. And in terms of automations, in terms of new technologies, AI learnings, I mean, it's just amazing. Recently we did a pilot project for our agriculture where we wanted to map just the plant life cycle, in the sense like how much pesticide, because one of the things is that farmers here do not understand how much pesticide they need to use. So we had a drones company which actually came and did this through AI. They were able to tell us exactly how much pesticide, what kind of pesticide should be used. I mean, so it is also balancing out somewhere. If you see, it's just not going to be EV alone. By reduction of this pesticide is also going to bring down the the carbon emissions. So these are all, one needs to look at it in a holistic manner. And the second point which I look at it also is we create access. We create access to companies to come and experiment with their technologies. So that is one of the ways why we are now building 3 new concept cities for futuristic living. The idea is, especially in Andhra Pradesh or in any part, in either town, we have a legacy issues because of the underperforming infrastructure over there. So rather than trying to improvise over there, we would like to move out into new areas and get the new cities, new concept cities where people can be living tomorrow and understand what the technology demonstrators are. So as a policy maker, I would actually say that the industry and the government should be working hand in hand, and especially subscribe to our ESG guidelines that that World Economic Forum is so actively propagating. I think this is one thing that should be the cornerstone of the industry and the government going forward together. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I want, so we're coming close to the hour, so we have 3 more minutes, and I want to give like 1 minute at the end. I would like to give each of you half a minute, 30 seconds, so really brief intervention this time. What is actually the most important action that needs to happen in order to enable the future of mobility? Minister Reddy.
I'll make it very short over here. I would say in simple one word, convergence. Convergence of everything together. Your policy, your innovations, your R&D, all get them together, keep them in one box and see that one solution comes out of it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much.